Logan Webb, I've covered you for a long time, but you said something the other day that like kind of stunned me. You said just very casually, this is year 13 for me. And I didn't realize this was year 13 for you. Drafted out of high school, some time in the minors, injury. Now you've been here a long time. Does that stun you when you look around at spring training and go, I've been doing this for a long time?
Yes and no. I feel like I end up thinking more just like my family, like my wife, now my daughter, right? It's her second spring training. So it's like, it's just kind of crazy to think about. I've been with my wife the entire time throughout all of this, and it's just crazy to think that this is year 13 with the Giants, 12 spring training, and I've been very, very lucky just the whole time with being in a great organization, and always have been treated the right way, and hopefully I give off the same, when I'm around, and really cool just to see. It's always crazy to see. There's some young prospects that we have in our minor league system, right? Hoswar, the guy we just signed, Hernandez, Luis Hernandez, and to me it's always 4 years ago that was Bryce, and it's like now it's here, right? Now he's, and I think that's the coolest part for me is kind of seeing, being around so long that I get to see a lot of these young guys grow in the minor leagues. I pay attention to a lot of the stuff that they're doing. I always like to check in on that, and it's always fun when it comes to fruition and you get to play with these guys in the big leagues and see the progress that they've made. I think that's my favorite part about it, is seeing the young guys kind of grow and get to play with them.
You're an OG now. You're an OG now, Logan. But you also been around 4 managers, 3 different baseball operations. And I know the frustrations that you wore on your sleeve for not making the postseason. It's gotten to you a little bit. How frustrating has it been? Because you guys have been knocking on the door, making moves here. Was this probably the most frustrating offseason for you after the way last year transpired to finish?
I don't know if it was the most frustrating. I think they've all been frustrating. My first real full season was 2021, and we won 107 games and won the division. And I just thought that was the way it was going to be every single year. And life comes at you fast, right? It hits you right in the mouth, and it just hasn't been the case. As a leader on it, I think I'm a leader on the team. As a leader on the team the last couple of years, it really hurts in that way more than anything. There's games I wish I could take back that I wish I could have done better. Whenever I talk about it, I'm talking about myself too. Like there's a lot of times when I wish I pitched better, I did better. And that's the most frustrating thing. It's like, man, if I pitched, had 11 losses last year, if I pitched better in 7 of them, maybe we make the playoffs. So, but it's also motivation. Every year I come in motivated. Every year, you get excited. Same thing this year. You're excited about the new staff, the new guys you bring in, and I feel like I'm getting away from your question, but yes, it was frustrating. It's always frustrating. I think as competitors, if we're not frustrated with not making the playoffs, the goal is to win the World Series. It's not even, 2021, won 107 games, you win the division, didn't win the World Series. I'm pissed off about that. To this day, I'm still mad about that. So every year that doesn't happen, it's frustrating.
Last year we did every spring now we do a little sit down with you. Last year I asked you what you wanted to accomplish, and you mentioned 200 strikeouts. You ended up leading the National League in strikeouts. I'm not sure you saw that coming, but I know there's one thing out there for you individually, the Cy Young. I know that's something, but is there anything else aside from that you got the Gold Glove now, you're the innings leader every year, you have the strikeouts. Is there something this year that you pinpointed?
I just want to win. I understand that's kind of cliche to say, but it's just, you guys have been around me enough to know that that's really how I feel. You watching live BP today, if I throw a bad pitch, I'm saying something I shouldn't say, and in a quiet stadium with kids around, and I apologize for that, but I get frustrated when that stuff happens, and I would take a World Series championship over a Cy Young any day. Like that's number one. I'm always, that's the goal every single year. I grew up in Sacramento. I wasn't necessarily a Giants fan, and I apologize all the time about that. But I wasn't. But I was in high school when they won in 10 and 12. In 14, I was part of the Giants. There's a way about how those guys did things, and we just kind of struggled since, honestly, 2014. I think we've made the playoffs twice. I wasn't a part of some of those teams, so I'm not talking bad about that, but got to get back to that, and that's just the way it should be. The Giants are a storied franchise, one of the best franchises, not only in baseball but in sports, and we should expect to win every year.
You're pitching for Team USA this year. You moved Skeens and Skubal. Right around the time that happened, and I don't know what the shredder is, but MLB Network has their shredder where they do their top 10 of every position. They put a list out, and you weren't on it. And it struck me as, even though you're pitching for Team USA, even though every year you're top 5 Cy Young, there are still some times where I think people look at it and go like, that's the innings guy, that's the, how do you feel you're perceived within the game? And I'd be curious, how do you think you're perceived with some of your peers? Because obviously, I know you're close with a lot of these guys. They have you on Team USA. Like, how has that changed for you the last couple of years?
I feel like that's a question for those guys, right? I don't know how to really answer that. I hope I just want to go out there and compete. I'm trying to do my best every time I go out there. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. And I guess I've kind of beat on this a lot, but I grew up in an era where I know I wasn't a part of the big leagues, but even in the minor leagues, I was supposed to throw 100 pitches no matter what and go out there and throw innings. And when I first got to the big leagues, it was Shark, it was Bum, it was Johnny, and guys that threw 200 innings every single year. And I think that's I think in baseball, that people respect that. You go out there and do your best for your team as much as you can and throw a lot of pitches and innings, and that's really all I'm trying to do. And sometimes it goes my way, sometimes it doesn't. That's baseball, and I guess kind of like the shredder stuff. My dad is a big MLB Network fan, so so he, even if I don't see it, he'll tell me about it, right? And it's all opinions, right? Maybe I wasn't on the shredders top 10, but all the other analysts that we're talking about, I was on. So it's all opinion based, and I hope I watch it now for my other teammates, and I see like Chappie was 4th where he should have been 1st. Like
Raffy's up there,
5th where he should have. I think those guys should be higher up on the list, and I hope they feel that way about me, right? But at the end of the day, it's kind of a question for them. And,
Well, do you hear from other guys, because it is a lost art now to throw innings, and I'm sure some of these guys would love to be able to do that and maybe are being held back at times. Is that a conversation you have with other aces when you're in all-star settings, when you're in Team USA settings?
I feel like you get in those settings, you really just talk about more like pitches or grips or stuff like that, and you're just kind of saying hi to each other. I've gone to 2 All-Star games. Chris Sale has been there twice. I love that guy. I wish I could share a clubhouse with that guy every single day. It's just like those types of interactions. It's not necessarily like they could say the innings things, and I could say I wish I could throw 100, like you guys. So it never really has gotten to that, but it's always fun to see these guys. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. There's prep routine, there's scouting, and when I'm in these settings, that's what I'm trying to look at. That's what I'm trying to learn from, right? I think it's the best in the game. I got to pitch with Justin last year, who is the best pitcher of the past 20-something years, and just watching him every day, like what he does, and learn as much as I can. That's the stuff you try to learn from, and I hope. As a pitcher and a player in the game, you hope you get to that point where guys lean on you like that and think about you like that.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later. And obviously, you brought up your dad. I can see him liking tweets now and listening to Sports Talk Radio. But I want to get to the manager. Obviously, Tony Vitello, hired by their organization, a big-time talking point this year in baseball. It's unprecedented, right? Coming from the University of Tennessee to the Giants. When you heard that he was possibly going to be your manager of the Giants, what first went through your head when those rumors started to circulate?
I never played college baseball. I was drafted out of high school. I've heard horror stories about college baseball, the running and the weight training. So the first thought that I had was like, man, if I miss a PFP, I'm going to have to run a pole, right? Stuff like that. But obviously that hasn't happened. But no, I don't really follow college baseball, which is funny because one thing that Tony says is he doesn't follow professional baseball. And it's like, it's really funny how that kind of works. And like I've probably watched one college baseball game in the past 5 years, and I think it was because Paul Skeens was pitching, and I was like, I wanted to watch this guy throw. So I didn't know much about it. I've seen all the videos. Obviously, I've played with Drew Gilbert, so I get to kind of see the way that they play baseball, and it's exciting to see. Like, I think he's going to bring in energy. A big emphasis last year towards the end of the year was I really wanted guys to just kind of be themselves. I want them to, if you have a way of celebrating, which baseball is a weird game where if you do one thing, a lot of people might not like it, but you could be the best guy in the world. It doesn't matter. But I want guys to do what they want. Like Drew Gilbert, be whatever you chew on someone.
Robbie Ray's shoulder.
Yeah, chew on Robbie Ray's shoulder. Like do all that stuff that you want to do. Because at the end of the day, like we play a lot of games. We're with each other for 7 months. If you were to get into a situation and for 7 months you were told to try to be someone else, it's probably really hard.
Right.
And I want these guys to act how they are. Like be yourself, be you, and who gives a crap what others think about you. Tony's very much that.
Right.
I think he's like, who cares what these people think or that person thinks. I think at some point there is a respectful way of doing it, but I think that's what he'll bring the most is be yourself, do your stuff.
What was the initial conversations you had with Tony when did get hired with the Giants?
So I didn't actually. He called me one day, and it was kind of to talk about. I sent him a text and I said, welcome to the Giants. Let's F it. Let's win while we're here. You know what I mean? And called me one day, kind of talk about some pitching stuff, and I told him I was in Nashville actually for a wedding, and I was like, hey, are you here by chance? And he was. I think he has a place on Broadway, so he was like, hey, I'll meet you at this time at this bar, and we ended up. It was hard to hear each other, but we talked for a long time, and it was a blast. And that's when I just knew, the competitor that I am, he has the exact same.
Talked a little football too, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. What was the football conversation like?
With Tony?
Yeah.
He was just kind of asking me about me, like how I kind of grew up around football. And I think if you're a coach in any sport in the SEC, I think football is kind of ends up being the number one thing. So, and it's cool, listening to meetings and talking to him. There's a lot of talk about, Nick Saban and some of these amazing coaches that you hear about, and very much similar to that. And so that excites me. I love football. I like I grew up with coaches screaming in my face. Baseball is a little different where that doesn't really happen. But I told Tony from the get-go, I'm like, you want to scream at me like I'm a football player? Like I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, you have a football jersey this year, don't you? I think that's on the promotions list.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Were you involved in that?
I was not, but I am excited about it.
It's closer to Raiders colors than Niners colors, I believe.
It's
black.
It's black.
It's closer. It's
Just a little orange. In it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's the Raiders guy.
Yeah, I know. But number 62.
Yeah.
Why number 62? I've been here for so long.
I'm not gonna lie. I put it on, and we were doing NBC, or not NBC Sports, but it was the Giants Productions, the Magic Box that they have. It's really cool, actually. But I put it on and I'm like 62. I was like, I got to get in the center stance, right? Like a lineman stance. This is the lineman number. But yeah, I'm super excited. I've actually had a couple. I think they did post it already or something, because I've had a couple people reach out and say, hey, you got to save this for me, or get me one. And I was like, trust me, I'll have about 200 at the end of it.
You mentioned Justin, and earlier this spring you brought up a couple things that he had taught you. Now that you're further away from it, he's not your teammate. What really stands out about that, and what did you take away from that year? I mean, I think from the start of the spring through the end of it, he was mentoring you guys. What did you take away from that year with him?
Yeah, you brought up the leading the league in strikeouts, which I don't think anyone saw that coming. I didn't see it coming. A lot of that had to do with Justin and the way he attacks hitters, the way he's reading swings, the way he scouts, the mentality that you need to bring to do that sort of thing. That was Justin, and also Robbie. Robbie's one of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball. Has been his whole career. Talking to him about it, obviously I do things a little differently. Like I have to kind of set things up. They don't. They just kind of throw it, and it's nasty. And but yeah, Justin, for me, they talk about when you get up to the big leagues, you kind of learn how to be in the show, right? I think Justin, to that level, like, took it to another level where it's like he shows you the just the kind of great things about life and sports, and I couldn't be more thankful for him. And he knows this. I mean, I don't want to get too sentimental. We talk a lot. I'm gonna talk to him a lot this year. I know he won't admit it, but I know he'll be following me a little bit, and of course I'll be following him because I like following stuff. But if I ever have a question, I know he'll be there for me. And like I said, couldn't be more thankful for that 1 year. I wish it could have been longer, but it's kind of if you would have said the 8th grade version of me that you're going to get to share a uniform with Justin Verlander, I think you'd be pretty excited.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm 29.
What did he teach you about putting guys away? Because for him, it's like, hey, here. I mean, back in the day, it was like, here's 99. I know it's the 8th inning, but I don't care.
Yeah,
what did he teach you?
I can't do that. I'll give you 93 maybe someday on good days.
Fives,
maybe some fives. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I don't want to get too deep into it.
Right.
That's one thing that also Justin talked about is never telling too many secrets. But he thinks of baseball in a different way. He scouts it in a different way. He does a lot of things that you just kind of never seen before, and a lot of us kind of follow that. I know Roop does the same sort of stuff that I do. Robbie's a little different. He's kind of, here it is, but that's Robbie, and it works. So, but Justin thinks differently, and I kind of feel like I wanted to get better at, just for myself. And I asked him, and he was very open about how he feels and the way he does things, and helped me a ton with it.
Yeah, throwing 95 in the 8th inning,
Yeah.
hitting 40 plus. Now let's talk about the offense, because I'm excited about this offense on paper. You get a full year, Rafael Devers, and Luis Ariz coming over, who doesn't strike out. What does that feel like to have not only some more power, but also a contact hitter like Luis Ariz who gets on base?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we get Rafi. We're super excited. Last year, I know we didn't play well initially after that, but I can tell you right now, the minute we got him, we thought we were winning the World Series. Like, it's like we're getting a guy like Rafael Devers. He's a top 10 hitter in baseball every single day. And when you add just a presence like that, you face teams. I scout teams, and there's a guy like Rafi or someone that you think about it differently. And Rafi's that type of guy. And now you had a guy with Luis in there. I don't like facing Luis. I think that I've made that known. It wasn't fun at Oracle Park looking up, and it was like 10 for 12 at some point, and it was like, man, it says like 850 against me or whatever it was, and I'm like, that's not. I knew what it was, but then you're in the moment, and like you're looking around and you see that, and you're like, well, I bet you he's pretty comfortable in the box right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of pitchers that feel that way with Luis, and you just don't see it very often anymore. You know, guys don't, you know, not knocking them. It's just kind of the way baseball goes. But not a lot of guys hit 300 anymore, and not a lot of guys are very contact orientated. So it's like it's fun to have him, and then just excited for the rest of the guys. You know, I think you get a healthy Matt Chapman now. You know, there's Jung-Hoo, healthy Jung-Hee. Willie, I think, is just getting more and more comfortable. I don't want to miss anybody, but
No, Harrison Bader's here. I was going to ask, like, this lineup maybe is deep.
There's a lot of guys. You know, I've talked about it amongst ourselves, but you know, I'm very excited about Ramos.
Yep.
You know, he had a kind of a breakout year 2 years ago, and to be honest, like I know you ask him, he'd probably be disappointed about last year. He still had a pretty dang good year offensively, and I think the ceiling is really high, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that guy shows up and hits 40 home runs. I think there's, and I think there's a lot of, you know, you bring in a new staff, you bring in new hitting coaches. Just talking to Hunter, the guy's brilliant. He's going to do a great job for us. You kind of saw what he did with the Blue Jays. I'll tell you right now, that was not a fun team to face in Toronto last year. I think we ended up having 3 strikeouts in 3 games against those guys, and a lot of it has to do with Hunter. You know, I'm not taking anything away from the obviously great hitters, but Hunter's just a brilliant baseball mind. You talk to him about game planning and stuff like that. I think he's going to be great for a lot of our guys.
Paz and I have talked, and everybody around the ball club so far. I know it's very early, but it feels like this may be the deepest your lineup has been since you've been on a major league roster. Even when you guys won 107, had a great season, hit a lot of jacks. But when you look at the talent man for man, how confident are you in this lineup, looking at it saying, man, we could really score some runs? It takes some of the pressure off you guys starting where you're pitching these 1-0 games into the 5th inning and it's high-stress pitches. What does that do for a guy like you?
Yeah, it's awesome. First off, I would like to say, like, I never would like to compare, like, the two, right? I think that year was pretty special, right? You know, can't take away. I mean, Buster Posey's an MVP candidate. Brandon Crawford finishes 4th in MVP that year. Belt, I think if he stayed healthy, would have hit 40 home runs that year. Like, I mean, I could keep going on. But yes, I definitely think this lineup very much stacks up with that lineup that we had, and you know, obviously always exciting to as a pitcher. You know, not only when I pitch, but just watching it, I think is very fun.
Can you give us a rundown of the 3 pitching coaches and completely different, it seems like, in a lot of ways, but Frank's the old soul and been doing this forever. He's the development guy. And Justin, the new pitching coach, and Christian Wonders, who's kind of the...
Don't forget Jesse Chavez, too.
Jesse Chavez. Yeah, Jesse as well, who's... Well, I just assume he's going to go to the Braves at some point. No, the 4 pitching coaches. What should Giants fans know about them?
Yeah, they're all awesome. They all are very different, and in a good way, right? I think you have to have that sort of thing. Frank's been awesome. You know, I haven't gotten to talk to him too much until about a couple of days ago, and he was watching my bullpen, and I had a blast with him. You know, Justin's fantastic. Knows his stuff, knows the game, knows everything you need to. Ton of feel. I know it's a big word with baseball players, like just a ton of feel. And then obviously you got Christian, who's the you know, he's the analytical guy. He's got everything that you got a question about anything analytically, which is it's a big part of baseball nowadays. You saw today, you're watching the look up and you see all the numbers on there. Like, if I have a question, you know, I'm trying not to look at it while I'm throwing, but afterwards, if I have a question about, hey, why'd this do that or why'd that, he's your guy. And then obviously you got Jesse, who's he's kind of like we finished last year, right? And who knows, Braves might call him, he might go pitch a couple innings, but maybe we can
we can call him.
Yeah. You know, we're down bad and need a couple innings, so I'm sure Jesse would do it. But Jesse's that guy that he has literally done every role that you could possibly think of, and I think that's important because I've been very blessed to be a starting pitcher pretty much my whole career. I had one year where I was kind of going back and forth, but have a defined, like, I know I'm going to pitch every 5 days. A lot of these guys don't. You might throw the 8th inning one day, and then 2 days later, you're the mop-up guy for 5 innings, and you wear it, and you get sent down, or something happens. It's be honest, like it's a way of thing, like how it happens, but it does happen, and that's just kind of part of baseball. And I think Jesse can be that guy that, he can say, look, I've done this, you'll be okay, or you'll get through this, and you look back, I don't know how many years Jesse played. I think it was a lot.
18 years.
18 years,
right?
So it's like, no matter what kind of stuff, sorry, like you're saying.
We got a dumb button. Don't worry about it, Logan.
No
we
matter,
can bleep it out.
no matter what you go through, you'll get through it.
Last one for you here real quick, Pavs. We sat down with Chappie and Willie Adames, and Willie brought up how Chappie recruited him to the Giants and was letting him know during his free agency year, like, hey, come to the Giants, we're building something here. Chappie said you did it first. You started recruiting. Do you remember that?
I do. I've known Chappie for a long time now. I think we were 2022, we had a lockout, and we're throwing live ABs in the middle of March. He was one of the guys out there. I knew him before that, but I don't know if he wanted, but he told me, he's like, hey, when I'm a free agent, like, come get me, or whatever it was. And obviously I was like, yeah, of course, dude, like, if I want to play with him. And then kind of the situation came up, and they asked me about him, and I said, look, I think at the time one thing we were lacking was like a true voice, true leader. The Chappie has great leadership skills. Same with Willie. And I was like, this is a perfect fit. And we were kind of going back and forth. I know he was, I don't know if you know Chappie, but he's also very competitive, very antsy. Like seeing him during that time when he wasn't signed and stuff like that. I'm trying to, we're trying to finagle our way to like get him here. It was cool. I'm extremely happy that, I don't know if we do captains. I know there's, when was the last time the Giants had a C on the chest?
Right.
I think Chappie, if there's anybody in our organization that is yours, that he's one of those guys that, the way he goes about his business, the way he does his work in between, the stuff he does on the field, the stuff he does in the cage, the way he speaks to us, everything that you could think of as a leader, that's how he is. And in the time when we were talking about getting him, I told them that. I'm like, you want a leader. Obviously you had Bob Melvin there too already. Like he knew Chappie from before. And I think from the minute Chappie got up, and I think it was 2017, don't want to get the year wrong, I think he was like that already. And Bob knew that and was like, hey, this is the guy. This is the guy we need.
I'll finish with this because you talked about it at the start, how you really just want to win a World Series. You got a taste in 21. You were really good in that division series. How much do you think about that? And when you're watching the postseason, how much do you just want to get another shot at being on that mound, no matter who it's against, what series, just another shot at the postseason? Yeah,
I think there's, if I could explain it in a certain way, there's a feeling that you get. I've only done it once, twice, because I pitched in 2 games, but there's like a feeling, a type of adrenaline feeling that you get that I can try to tell myself to do it for a regular season game or whatever. You just can't. It can't match up to that. I actually did it 3 times because game 162 was kind of like a playoff win too.
Yep. Hit a homer.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, I can see it with those guys. I'm very close with Blake Snell. I got to talk to him kind of throughout the playoffs last year. And his experience, he'd already pitched in a World Series before, so he knew the feeling. And yeah, it's just like it ends up being like a jealous, type of feeling. It's like, man, I wish I was out there. All of us feel that way. We don't. I know I've said this before. I know I said it the other day. Like, I'm sick of being 500. I don't want to lose. I promise all the fans and everyone, like, I care just as much as you guys do. Like, probably more. It's the same in the clubhouse. All the guys feel that way. At the end of the day, you gotta go out and do it, and we know that's our jobs. We get paid a lot of money to do it, and we have to go out there and find a way to play as a team, to take every day as it's it's hard. You play a long season. There's times when it's your third city on a long road trip.
Right.
How do you find a way to get up for that game or do this? And I guess I'm kind of different because I play once every 5 days, but so it's a little easier for me to get up for the one game I have to play. But that's something that I think Tony's going to help with a lot. There's going to be some enthusiasm. There's going to be competitiveness that not saying we lacked it before, but if we need a kick in our ass every once in a while, I think he's going to be the first person to do that, and I think that's a good thing. You need that, and I think the best teams do that. It doesn't matter when you're playing or who you're playing. There's an intensity that you bring every day, and there's a mentality you bring every single day.